Hello ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy Top Hat here. Every now and then on this platform a cool opportunity arises for me to create something different from the norm. In today's case, the people over at World of Tanks have sponsored the production of this video, so that I can use some of my valuable time to produce this additional content for you all to see. Today we are going to be looking at the surprisingly rich history of the World of Tanks franchise, its interesting origins, and most importantly, what this insanely detailed free-to-play game can offer you the player if you choose to dive into this title now. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the mad story of World of Tanks, the game that bills itself as the ultimate strategic shooter. Yeah! Today's story starts in a location completely different from many gaming tales I have told on here in the past. It is common for myself to look at games that came out of the likes of Japan, the United States and the United Kingdom, but in the World of Tanks case, this title came out of an unlikely location of Belarus, a landlocked country located in Eastern Europe, situated between Poland, Ukraine, Lithuania, Latvia and Russia. World of Tanks was developed by a company known as Wargaming, who have since moved their headquarters to Nicosia, Cyprus. But Wargaming was originally founded by a gentleman known as Viktor Kisly, launching the business out of the Belarusian capital of Minsk back in 1998, with a focus on developing strategy video games. Their first game was ready by the year 2000, known as DBA Online, a digital version of the miniature tabletop historical war game rule set known as De Belle Antiquitatis. The company would release a more ambitious game in 2002 in the form of the sci-fi turn-based strategy game Massive Assault. Fast forward to 2009 and the company was reputable enough to have their real-time strategy game known as Order of War published by Square Enix. The company was going from strength to strength with their most well-known franchise launching in 2010, which of course is the subject of this video. World of Tanks. Development of this huge game started as early as December 2008 and was officially announced by April of the following year, with the developers stating that the game has the largest ever budget seen in the game industry history. After a period of beta testing and a Russian launch, an English version was officially released in April of 2011, becoming available online for the masses throughout Europe and North America. Over time, the game gradually built up an extremely large user base, with 75 million players being reportedly registered worldwide by the end of 2013. With this popularity, it allowed World of Tanks to be ported to multiple home consoles over the years, such as the Xbox 360, Xbox One and PlayStation 4, under the title World of Tanks Valor, and a mobile version was created known as World of Tanks Blitz. In fact, this game proved worthy enough to even receive its own collectible card game, known as World of Tanks Generals. The franchise was forever expanding its reach. In fact, World of Tanks would even receive popular spin-off titles in the form of World of Warplanes and World of Warships. To call the rise of Wargaming and its World of Tanks game a success would by this point in time be an understatement. So, without further ado, let's discuss all this game has to offer. In order to do so, let's check out the most up-to-date 2020 PC version of this game. To put it simply, World of Tanks is a huge mass multiplayer game, which heavily features the use of mid-20th century combat vehicles. Gameplay is focused on player versus player combat, where each player controls an armoured vehicle and must compete in teams in order to defeat their opponents. As mentioned earlier, this title is a free-to-play game, so anyone can pick this one up and get instantly started. However, in order to maximise the World of Tanks experience further, participants also have the opportunity to pay a fee to unlock additional premium features. In regards to these premium features, fortunately one of the perks for you watching this video is that I have been provided with an invite code to allow new players of this game who register for the first time on the Wargaming portal to gain 7 days premium access to this title, which includes receiving a premium tank known as the T-127 Soviet, a tier 3 vehicle and 500 gold, which can all be accessed by simply clicking the link in the description using the invite code TANKTASTIC. Doing so not only grants you access to all of these features just mentioned, but also helps this channel out in the process. As you will be aware, I have often described myself as a console connoisseur in the past, so PC gaming is certainly something that is a little different to what I'm used to. However, covering this game has given me the excuse to do a little gaming using my Acer Predator gaming laptop, which I primarily use for editing when travelling. Thankfully, for people like myself who are less experienced with controlling a game using a mouse and a keyboard, the game's bootcamp mode provided me with the perfect opportunity to get to grips with this game's controls, which I will explain the functions of in a moment. In regards to the controls, once you're used to them, the meat and potatoes of this title is of course the player versus player battles. To explain exactly what goes on in these contests, basically there are battles where one team of 15 combat vehicles take on another, with each single vehicle being controlled by a different player around the world. From my experience, the servers seemed pretty busy, so there seems to be plenty of people available to play with online. The objective in these contests is simple. A team can achieve victory by either destroying every vehicle on their opponent's team, or they can win by capturing their opponent's base, which is achievable by managing to park up a tank next to the enemy's base without being hit by enemy fire for a short duration of time. In regards to this route to victory, the duration of time is shortened if more of your team's tanks make it to the enemy base. However, the time is reset every time you or a teammate takes enemy fire in this location. Obviously, this route to victory is more easily achievable if more of your opponent's tanks have been destroyed in the skirmish beforehand. Skirmish. Whilst both methods of victory appear simple enough on the surface, winning these battles is easier said than done, and you will probably find your tank being destroyed pretty quickly on your first attempt. Thankfully, the game offers a Spectator Mode too, which allowed me to study some of the strategies used by more experienced players, giving myself more of an edge in future battles. Personally, I found it more easy to survive longer if I stayed near my teammates and hunted my opponents down in packs. The strength in numbers game certainly made me feel more secure anyway, and I got more playtime in, until in many cases I ended up in a smouldering mess on the floor anyway as a pile of scrap metal. The game offers an easy and simplistic to understand experience, however it is still very difficult to master. In terms of controlling these vehicles, the controls are simple and intuitive enough. Moving the tank is achievable via using the W, A, S and D keys, and the tank's main gun is controlled with the mouse, which can be tilted and aimed at will. Instances where the crosshair flashes green gives players an indication if an accurate shot can be made, and firing is achievable with a simple click of the mouse. Entering sniper mode and aiming at enemies from a distance is also possible, which is executable by using the mouse's wheel. Again, this is certainly not a way I am used to playing games, but it did offer me up a nice change of pace, which I must say is a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. I will say, being involved in some of these battles certainly got my blood flow pumping as I hid in bushes and behind buildings in order to try and avoid enemy fire, and I certainly received a bit of a rush every time I destroyed one of my opponents. Capturing the enemy base for my whole team was also something which I highly enjoyed and made me feel great afterwards. Reportedly over the years, this game has received a sweeping array of updated visual flourishes and fresh backgrounds, which would explain why many of the battlegrounds in this game look so spectacular. In fact, the game has over 30 different maps to experience, all of which are based on real-world locations. These maps vary from the countryside to cityscapes. The diversity these landscapes deliver feed into the strategies that are required in order for players to gain an advantage in each. Certain conditions may suit one vehicle better than another. For example, mountain ranges are very different to traverse from a sprawling city. This all feeds into the flow of the contest. All in all, I will say though that these visually stunning areas based on real world locations certainly contribute an added layer of realism to this game. Speaking of these maps, and the tank theme in general, I loved that whilst controlling the tanks I could bulldoze practically anything, destroying multiple objects that got in my path. The game made me feel like a real man, crushing everything that was in my way. The layered strategy and fun action this game delivers is all paired with a great soundtrack too, and it overall adds to the game's ambience. It's varied, epic, and builds on the game's already breathtaking atmosphere, making the World of Tanks experience feel more special overall. We already mentioned the scenery featuring great visuals, but great visuals are not exclusive to just the scenery. The selection of tanks this game has to offer the player is also detailed and historically accurate. In fact, there is a countless number of tanks in this game represented from 11 different nations. Through winning battles and gaining experience in this game, multiple tanks can be purchased and stored in your garage for future use throughout this gaming endeavour. Once in the garage, these vehicles are also fully upgradable and customizable both aesthetically and in terms of function. In order to power these beasts up, the game offers a massive skill tree which can be used to not only improve the existing tanks found in your own garage, but also allow us access to unlock even more impressive vehicles down the line. In fact, there are hundreds of different tanks to unlock within this game, available in a number of types and tiers, providing players with choice of vehicles to choose from, in order to suit one's assault strategy best. Unlocking new features in this game can at times be slow and time consuming, however obviously when finally managing to do so, it can be very satisfying as a result. The game's vast amount of unlockable content gives players an incentive to often heavily grind in order to get their hands on the next upgrade or tank. However, obviously with this being a freemium game, much of this can be bypassed with the odd microtransaction here and there, but clearly this all depends on what suits your own gaming needs best for your own playthrough experience. The game also offers a number of other game modes. For example, players can join a clan or enter timed tournaments. There is a ton in this game to play through and enjoy, and this video is basically just scratching the surface for you to go and explore. Personally, after gaining some experience with this game, I will admit that World of Tanks delivers a surprisingly deep strategic experience for a free-to-play game, which is certainly worth trying out yourself to see what you think. But as is tradition with my videos, let's hear what some of the gaming news sites had to say about this game. It's always great to get some second and third opinions after all. GameSpot summarised with, World of Tanks is a slick looking game with a ridiculous amount of great content to back up its accessible tank on tank combat. Recent graphical updates and new additions add to the experience in excellent ways. Making progress in unlocking the massive range of vehicles can be slow going, but the thrill of strategic battle well fought and the eventual rewards for your hard efforts steamroll the sluggish moments into the dirt. IGN in the past have praised the action found within this game, stating, tank combat in World of Tanks is for the most part satisfying. When you land a shell right in the rear of an enemy tank, the solid thud of the impact is very convincing, and you feel like you're at the wheel of a brutally powerful machine of war. Gaming Nexus have referred to this game as exquisite, describing the title as unique and confident in its place in the free-to-play world. This team-based MMO is a surefire winner, balancing fun with depth and detail with action. BitTech add to this game's overall praise by stating, while there's a huge amount of satisfaction to be gained from driving a bloody great big tank around and firing a sodding huge gun, there's also a lot more depth to World of Tanks than that. This is because World of Tanks treads a very fine line between being an instantly accessible arcade shooter and a full-on tank simulation. The basics of moving and shooting are incredibly easy to pick up. So, as you have just heard, over the years there has been a decent amount of praise for this game, with the title's playability impressing a number of journalists along the way. I certainly had fun with this one, so I'd like some of you to try this one too, so you can get back to me and let me know what your thoughts are on this game. I would gather, if you are still here by this point in the video, you are either still here as you are genuinely interested in trying this game out for yourself, or it is simply a case of you really enjoy my content, no matter what I happen to be talking about. Either way, remember that by clicking the link at the top of this video's description and using the invite code TANKTASTIC, you gain 7-day premium access to this title, gain a premium Soviet tank, and get free 500 gold. You have absolutely nothing to lose here, so why not just try this game out for yourself and see what fun you can have. Finally, I want to give a huge thank you to all of those who have made it to the end of this video. Your viewership means everything to me, along with a huge shout out to the people over at World of Tanks for sponsoring today's content, and of course the lovely people who back this channel on Patreon, who actually provide me with an actual regular income stream. All of you are helping in assisting my little channel to grow, and allowing me to work my dream job. I once never would have thought any of this was possible. I bloody love gaming, and I bloody love you all. Yeah. Cheerio.